I did not share my abortion story for over a decade after going through an abortion. I buried it like the majority of women and men do. And I thought, if I don't talk about it or tell anyone, I won't get kicked out of church if they don't know. I won't get kicked out off the worship team if they don't know. But if they find out, I'm going to be rejected. A post-abortive man or woman already feels God's going to reject them. So people are the easy part. They know if family and friends find out, they're going to want nothing to do with them. At least that's the belief that they have. So it was not easy. I can tell you, when I couldn't even look in the mirror alone in my home and say, you've had an abortion, there was no way I could have ever imagined that God would have me speaking all over the country and the world. I just got back from Italy sharing my story of having an abortion. But he has taken what the enemy meant to destroy me and for evil and turned it into good. But he could only do that when I went through healing myself. So after a decade, I finally hit rock bottom with the Lord, and I was praying with them at my church who'd had abortions. I'd watch God heal them, transform their lives, but I would become angrier and angrier that he hadn't healed me. And I met a woman named Mary at my church who was the director of the Pregnancy Resource Center that was local, and she wanted me to volunteer. Finally, I decided after 3 years, I'm sick and tired of hurting, and I went through post-abortion counseling. It changed my life, and once I went through healing, I knew God was going to take the gifts and talents he'd already instilled in me by sharing my story to reach other people that have either are considering abortion with my story or who've already had abortions who needed healing from walking that guilt and that shame and that pain. And so that's what I've dedicated my life to do.
So what made the difference? What was that point at which God met you and you were able to really open up and experience or begin to experience his healing?
Well, for 3 years, as I said, Mary was trying to encourage me to come volunteer, and I kept putting her off, feeling inside, you just want to torture me, God. You're trying to get me to work at a pregnancy center so that I can be reminded every day of what I've done. Well, after 3 years, there was a particular woman who came to me at an altar at a women's conference that I was on the prayer team for, which, by the way, no one on the prayer team knew about my abortion. I thought they were crazy to even invite me to be part of it, but they were insistent. And this was one of the numerous women. She came and whispered in my ear, I've had an abortion. It's been over 2 decades. I can't live with it anymore. Can you pray for me? I hate myself. So I did, and I watched God transform her. That night when I got home, I had to come to Jesus meeting with the Lord, basically telling him, why do you torture me? Why do you keep bringing these women to me for prayer when you haven't even healed me yet? And as this 45-minute to an hour session with Jesus went on, it wasn't pretty. I will tell you, it was ugly. I felt the Holy Spirit speak to my heart and say, I've been trying to. And then Mary's face appeared to me, this precious woman from my church who had desperately tried to get me to come and volunteer at the center. The next day I called her and said, I'm ready to volunteer. I went through post-abortion counseling, so it changed my life. So what God had to do for me was remind me that I haven't left you. I've been trying to bring healing to you. You're the one who's been rejecting it. And once I went through post-abortion healing, here I am, 22 years later now in the pro-life movement. My story has been shared with countless millions of people because of social media and the online presence that I have. And God, again, has taken my story and turned it into something that can change people's life. And I'm grateful for that.